OS version 3.2.2. Restarting system. Communication interrupted. Receiving emergency broadcast.
Alright, welcome back and thanks for tuning in to another episode of barSILENCE. My name is Jameson and I'm your host. barSILENCE is a Superpod Network production that's dedicated to exploring the very best video game music each and every month. If you haven't yet, head over to barsilence.com to find an easy link to subscribe on whatever your favorite podcatcher is. You can also go to superpodnetwork.com to check out an excellent variety of gaming articles, as well as some of the best podcasts that are focused on retro gaming nostalgia and other gaming goodness. And of course, if you're looking for the best 24/7, around-the-clock video game music radio station, you should check out 8 Beats Radio. This show plays there live on the first Tuesday of every month, and you can tune in by going to 8beats.co. In this episode, we're going to be listening to the cyberpunk and futuristic-inspired soundtrack to the PlayStation release of Ace Combat 3 Electrosphere. But before we talk about the third game, let's talk a little bit about the origins of the series. In 1993, Namco released the thrilling flight combat simulator, Air Combat, into arcades on the System 21 hardware. This early 3D polygonal combat flight sim was based in modern times and was praised for its then jaw-dropping graphics. 2 years later, in 1995, Sony was determined for their new PlayStation console to set the world ablaze with its 3D capabilities. When developing their launch lineup, they worked closely with Namco to bring their popular arcade games to the system, including Air Combat, Ridge Racer, and eventually Cybersled. Initially, the team that was making the game struggled with making a direct one-to-one translation of their arcade game. They instead turned this into an opportunity to create a game from scratch that's both a port and a unique title, with a story of its own, featuring a freelance mercenary that's hired by world governments to fight terrorists. Air Combat, or Ace Combat as it's known in Japan, was released on the PlayStation and became an early success on the system. This popularity led Namco to develop the sequel, Ace Combat 2, as a PlayStation exclusive in 1997. This follow-up gave gamers 30 different mission styles and also included 16 different types of aircrafts. The major upgrade, of course, was the graphics. No longer limited by trying to translate the arcade to the PlayStation, the team's research into the system's limitations provided them with the opportunity to get the most out of the PlayStation, giving the game detailed texture map polygons, a high frame rate, as well as notably long draw distances. Reviews at the time agreed that Ace Combat 2 was a vast improvement over its predecessor, with Electronic Gaming Monthly even calling the action-packed levels the most intense flight experience to ever grace a console. So, that brings us to 1999 in Japan, when Namco attempted to catch lightning in a bottle for a third time with Ace Combat 3 Electrosphere. The first two games in the series stuck with a more modern-era approach to their loose story and visual style. Ace Combat 3, on the other hand, went a different direction and instead made the story of the game the primary feature. Inspired by anime and Namco's R4, Ridge Racer Type 4, the team set out to create this storytelling-focused game with branching paths through 52 missions and 5 distinct endings. The story of the game is also told through flashy cutscenes made by the famous Japanese animation studio named Product IG, who are known for creating Ghost in the Shell standalone complex, FLCL, and End of Evangelion. Ace Combat 3's story takes players into the dystopian future of 2040, where megacorporations have replaced nation-states in an alternate world called Strange Real. This setting, of course, is much like Earth, but with different nations, a familiar but altered geography, and its own history that's allegorical to our own. Now, canonically speaking, Strange Real wouldn't be officially established until Ace Combat 4 Shattered Skies, but Electrosphere does sit at the end of this series' timeline. So, in the 2030s in the game, technological advancements have made it possible to upload the human consciousness to the Electrosphere, which of course is Strange Real's version of the internet. This breakthrough sparks both existential uncertainty in the population, as well as giving rise to the Ouroboros, who are a pro-transhumanist terrorist group waging their own war against the two dominant megacorporations, Newcom Incorporated and General Resource Limited. In an effort to prevent all-out corporate warfare, the Neo-United Nations of Strange Real forms the Universal Peace Enforcement Organization, or UPEO, as a peacekeeping force tasked with stabilizing the conflict that defines this game's missions. Now, if almost none of this sounds familiar to those of you who have played the game, that would probably be because you played the international version that was released outside of Japan. This version maintains that intercorporate warfare portion of the story, but is told through text on screen and removes the characters, backstory, animated cutscenes, as well as the 5 endings. The localization process for Ace Combat 3 was initially handled by the Japanese company Frog Nation, but Namco cut funding before they could progress beyond a demo. The exact reason for this kind of remains unclear, but it's believed that Ace Combat 2's modest sales of just over 1 million copies made the number crunchers at Namco feel that a full investment was a bit too risky. Fortunately, in the years since, dedicated fans have stepped in to make their own translation that was first completed in 2009. So if you're interested in experiencing the game's original story, you can easily find patched versions and playthroughs online. Despite those heavy cuts though, Ace Combat 3's international release was surprisingly well received. Critics praised it for its cutting-edge graphics, sleek interface, and impressive use of instant replays, all of which was clearly pushing the PlayStation to its limits. However, the game ultimately underperformed, selling fewer copies in North America than its predecessors, and by 2008, Electrosphere had only shipped 1.1 million units, just passing the 1.09 million of Ace Combat 2. Some might call this a self-fulfilling prophecy, as Namco's drastic changes likely impacted the success of the game. But who really knows? Maybe if we make enough noise about it online, Namco will finally see that we really want a fully translated and remastered version of this game. Now, the one thing that did remain the same in both versions, and was universally beloved by critics and gamers alike, is the incredible futuristic ambient techno meets cyberpunk dystopic soundtrack. Given the more serious nature of this game, and its story-driven gameplay, Electrosphere steps away from the previous entry's funk and rock-inspired music. Instead, it attempts to directly match the tone of the game, using a diverse set of tracks that are built with the palette of drum and bass, techno, spacey synths, and industrial sound effects that ultimately aim to blur the line between music and atmosphere. Rather than following a structured progression, Ace Combat 3's soundtrack flows seamlessly from track to track, despite being composed by 5 different musicians. Leading this team was Tetsukazu Nakanishi, a regular in the Ace Combat series, whose work also spans Ridge Racer games starting with Ridge Racer Type 4, Konoha, Door to Phantomile, and many others. Joining him on this soundtrack is also Hiroshi Okubo, who composed 2 songs and is well known for his work on Ridge Racer and Tekken titles, as well as a few Katamari games. Then, in his first credits as a game composer, Shiina contributed 3 tracks, bringing a unique sound to each before later going on to compose for the Mr. Thriller series, the God Eater games, multiple titles in the Tales series, as well as a few Tekken games. This soundtrack also includes 8 tracks from Koji Nakagawa, who's known for his work in the Ridge Racer games as well as in Mario Kart Arcade GP. As a composer with the second most contributions, his musical additions span from atmospheric to high energy, and definitely helped to define this game's distinct sound. Finally, Kanako Kakino, known for her work in several Konoha games, We Heart Katamari, and other Namco titles, blends technical and mechanical beats with organic instrumentation, crafting 4 tracks that both sound futuristic and deeply human. Now, I believe all of this comes together as a fascinatingly deep and experimental collection of electronica that definitely remains one of Namco's most creatively ambitious soundtracks. So, to get into the music for this episode, we're going to listen to Ace Combat 3's incredibly lush, techno-futuristic sound in a playlist-style format that best suits being able to experience what this soundtrack's all about. Alright, what do you say we take to the skies, tune into the Electrosphere, and get ready for some serious air combat? Enjoy this mix, and I'll be back after that.
Streaming data.
Cleared for takeoff. altitude. Entering stratosphere. atmospheric entry. engage. Warning! Missile alert! Entering Electrosphere. Bingo. Mission accomplished.
Alright, that's the show. I hope you enjoyed the ambitiously futuristic soundtrack of Ace Combat 3 Electrosphere. If you want to interact with the show and tell me what you think about my selections in this episode, you can follow me on a variety of social media platforms. That includes Blue Sky, Threads, and Instagram. Following the show in those locations are exactly where you can find great screenshots, artwork, music clips, and various information about the games that are featured in each episode. Check the show notes to follow along on your favorite platform of choice. If you're enjoying this show's selection of incredibly great video game music each month, please consider taking a moment to leave a rating and review on Apple Podcasts, Pocket Casts, Overcast, YouTube, or wherever you're listening to this show, because I'd really love to hear what you think. Don't forget, you can go to barSILENCE.com to listen to past shows if you've missed any. And of course, if you're feeling giving, you can always support barSILENCE on Patreon. For already subscribing, I want to thank the members of the Legion of VGM for supporting the show. Zoe, Alusa, Cameron, and Reptile, you aces are the absolute best, and I really hope you've enjoyed this episode. Now, if you want to join these pilots and become a member of the Legion of VGM yourself, you can subscribe for as little or as much as you want, so be sure to check those show notes for a link to learn more. I'd also like to thank friends of the show and Legion members Aaron of the excellent video game variety podcast, Super Pod Saga, as well as Professor Tom of the Shujin Academy VGM Club. You can and should check out both of these shows wherever you find your podcasts, as well as on TerraPlayer.com. Alright, to wrap up this show, I've got one more track to take us out. We're going to listen to The Crew, inspired by the XEVIOUS remix that was created by Keiki Kobayashi for the 2023 release of the Ace Combat series special remix soundtrack. This dancey and futuristic remix of Ace Combat 3's ending song called The Crew is a perfect way to wrap this up with a little bit of energy that I think you're going to like. Anyway, that's all for now. Enjoy this final song, and as always, thanks again for listening, and I'll see you guys next time.
End of file. Connection terminated.